Hello.
Hello, is this Erie?
Yes, this is Erie.
Thanks for fitting me in. I know you guys are really busy today, so I won't take too much of your time.
Not a
But
problem.
I'm Jessica from livingdeadgirl.com, and I also write for concertconfessions.com. You are the creative genius behind the synth pop duo WICCID,
If
correct?
that's how you want to put it. Sure,
Well,
sure.
sure. Well, we have to describe you somehow, right? Everybody wants to know, well,
Yeah.
what is this, right? So, and you're from Sacramento, California, right?
Yes, yes, me and Crash as well.
Well,
Yep.
welcome to Phoenix.
Thank you.
You're
It's
here
very
for
warm.
this is nice. We've
I
been
know,
waiting for
I know. That's what I tell everybody. I'm from Northern California, and it's like this all summer, so I'm kind of used to it. But
Well, we've been waiting for this all winter, so it could be
yep,
worse.
yep.
It could be 100 degrees outside.
Oh yeah.
But so this is a new project for you, or a newer project, I should say, correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
You've been doing this since, was it 1983?
Yeah, yeah. I started doing all of the learning and all of things like that. I didn't actually start playing shows until 1990. I started
Wow.
on computers and then moved over to instruments, and now I've kind of moved back to computers.
You know what, though? I like that. I think that's really interesting because I kind of come from a geek and nerd background, and I
Oh,
tell
we're total geeks.
my daughter, she's 15 years old and she kind of gets in trouble on her phone sometimes, and she doesn't
Uh-huh.
understand how mom can bust her without even getting on the phone, you
Yeah,
know?
my kids don't understand that I know how to do technical stuff
Yeah,
either. They're
well,
like,
I tell her,
whoa,
I said, your people play on this. My people built them.
built them. Yeah, I learned how to
We
program this shit.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because I know a lot of people that are my age. I'm 39, so I know
Yeah,
a lot of people my age that, we grew up
yeah,
with not computers, and then we had computers. It was almost like just at the right time for technology. And a lot of people went the video game route, and now those
yeah,
people are computer programmers and IT specialists. And I
yeah.
think it's really cool that, music kind of evolved right along with that, and you were kind of part of that evolution there.
Oh, absolutely. I was doing coding and I'd learned BASIC and all the different languages back in early 80s and how to program HTML and everything you can think of.
Yeah,
But
back when you
both
had to park the computer.
exactly. Me and Crash are both complete tech geeks. He actually works in IT and I work in graphic design that's all computer based. So,
I love that because I think that that's really cool that, 30 years you guys
yep,
have
yep,
helped evolve the music. You're actually helping to shape the modern music because without any of that stuff, we wouldn't
yeah.
have half the dance music that we
Well,
have
and
today.
there was so much stigma surrounding that type of music when we started. It's like, oh, you just hit a
Right,
button
right,
and it
right.
does everything. And now everybody does it. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, well, we made it easy for you.
try and keep up, guys.
Right, right, right. But, in that time too, there was a stigma that went along with it. But I think you've actually, haven't you won some awards or been
Well,
recognized
yeah,
for your
when I was
contributions?
when Crash and I were in Lux in Sacramento, we used to go on tours and stuff like that. But at the same time in Sacramento, the music scene was blowing up, and it was for bands like Deftones, Papa Roach,
Hmm.
and things like that. And here we are in this industrial band. It had guitars and things like that, but it was all electronics based. And we were just like, you know what, fuck it, let's just start playing locally with these bands and see how people react. And we turned into one of the biggest bands, arguably the biggest band in Sacramento for almost 3 years. We were playing over 100 shows a year, and we won a whole bunch of awards in Sacramento and even towns we weren't from. So it was quite a lot of fun. But as all things do fade, we moved on to doing different things. We did Blown Load. We went out on tour with Revco and Lords of Acid originally and things like that. But now we're back to doing I mean, the first band I was in before Lux was called Media, and that was me and Crash. I've known him since we were seven, obviously. We're
Oh,
good
that's
friends.
cool. That's a
Yeah.
good story there too.
But yeah, but we were just doing, it was all synth based. We used a little guitar and things like that. But now we're back to exactly what we were doing at the beginning, two guys with synthesizers and just writing songs.
That's really cool though, because that's kind of like we could put you in a category with Les Paul and Jimi Hendrix, and doing things. Well, doing things with computers that computers weren't really built for.
Yeah.
And hey,
Well,
look what else we can do.
when I first started on computers, they couldn't do what I wanted them to do. So I ended up using a lot of hardware electronics rather than computer-based electronics. But obviously, through time, it's definitely caught up and then surpassed it. So I'm 100% computer now. I've gotten rid of all my old electronic gear that I used to run a commercial studio. I sold all of that off, and I do everything in just a computer and honestly a pair of headphones. Yeah.
So about how long does it take you to come up with a song?
Okay. We were doing Blown Load, and then we did another project. You got to keep up here. Sorry. Did another project called Dream in Red, but it was more like radio rock, almost like U2 type stuff.
Hmm.
And then we lost our drummer for that. We still do Blown Load, but our drummer kind of fades away sometimes. So then he comes back and we do it for a while. But
Right.
that was more crazy, wild, almost like System of a Down, but extremely dirty type stuff.
Hmm.
So we're all over the map. After we did Dream in Red, when lost our drummer, we did another project on the side called Raising Eden. It was extremely metal, and it was cool. We had like people doing guest solos on it, like Virus and rigs
Cool.
from Rob Zombie and shit like
Right.
that. But
Okay.
that never actually got even released yet. So it kind of moved fast. And then I got a new computer because I'd been doing remixes for people for, God, 8 years since I started doing the Ministry and Revco remixes. I did almost
Hmm.
40 remixes for them. I did remixes for Frontline Assembly, for Lords of Acid, did videos for Pig and Lords of Acid, and things like that. I did mastering for Lords of Acid for Chris Frenna's Project Tweaker, things like that. So I got to know a lot of people, but all of that was on my 12-year-old computer that I was just milking every ounce out of that I could. So about a year and a half ago, I bought a brand new computer, I put it in my new studio. I bought a bunch of new software, and I did a project. I wrote stuff for Primitive Race, which was a project with Chuck Mosley from Faith No More and Dale
Hmm.
Crover from the Melvins, and excuse me,
Hmm.
Mark Thwaite from Peter Murphy and Gary Newman and stuff like that. Just wrote that stuff. I wrote some new songs for the Prong album. I've written several songs for the last two Prong records. God, I'm trying to keep up with myself here.
No, that's great
And
though, because something else I was thinking of too when I was thinking of what to talk to you about is that people might not recognize you, or WICCID because it's a brand new project,
yeah.
but you've had your fingers in everybody's pie.
Oh,
And,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
and I think especially with the younger kids, with music being downloaded, we don't actually have album notes in our hand anymore.
Exactly.
But without that, you don't actually see this person played on this album and this song was written by this person. And
Yeah,
I
you
think
almost
you
have to
lose
look it
that.
all up now. So,
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that we might not know your name out in front in the center mic, but you're
yep, yep.
responsible for a lot of this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And all these projects, it's always been me and Crash and whoever else is involved. But after that, I did a quick project called Esther Black, which was kind of like Blown Load, but not as dirty. It was heavy, and it's got a lot of like vaudeville elements and almost like show tunes and things like that. But I had done a couple remixes for someone. I hadn't done any remixes since I got the new computer system, and I realized, you know what? I've got a whole shitload of new synthesizers, and I have not dug in and learned how to use every single one of them. Because I had bought this a program called Complete 10 from Native Instruments, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I'm going to do a project. I'm just going to learn how to use the synths. I'm going to do a project, and I'm going to write 10 songs in 10 days and finish the entire recording in 2 weeks. And
And
that's WICCID.
oh, really?
Yeah.
10 songs in 10 days. That's the subtitle, right?
Yeah, it's got 11 songs, but it was I
Oh,
had written a side song for another project, and I was like, no, this fits with WICCID. We'll just stick it there.
those are great stories though, because a lot of the songs that we like that last a long time, that like Alice Cooper's 18 started out as a sound check.
Yep,
Kind of like,
and that's how it happens too. You're just like, oh, hey, we'll just follow this thread and see where it goes.
yeah, it's very organic that way.
Exactly,
That makes it
exactly.
very honest. That's honest music is what it is, whether you're on a computer or a guitar.
Yeah, yeah. I tend to work really, really fast on everything that I do. I do graphic design, I do video, I do anything you can think of. I
Mm-hmm.
pretty much do it if you make it with a computer. But I work really, really fast, or I don't work at all. So people are like, oh, well, what if you slowed down and took your time? I'm like, then it wouldn't happen because I'd lose
Right.
interest and I'd move on to something else. I have to do a remix in 2 hours or it won't get done at all.
You mentioned you do graphic design. You actually do album artwork as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've done. I do mostly. I design our own album artwork, but for other people, I generally try to just do layout for them because they have a very specific idea of the pieces
Sure.
they want. Like the new Primitive Race record, Chris Nicker supplied me with different pieces of art that he'd gotten. Mark Brooks had a hand in that too, and he had a different photographer involved in it. So it's just like, give me the pieces, I'll put it together and send it back to you real fast.
Is there a link or anything? Like, can you name off some more albums that you've had a hand in? Maybe I can put a link in the production notes or something.
Well, the last
You.
two Primitive Race records, the one they're both on Metropolis Records. The new Primitive Race comes out on November 4th, actually.
Okay.
But I worked on the first Primitive Race record with a whole bunch of different people: Andy Sex Gang, Tommy from Prong, Josh Bradford from Revco, Mark Thwaite, like I said, from Peter Murphy, and he's worked with Gary Newman and Tricky and a whole bunch of people like that. Krabby from Pop Elite itself.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's a great record to check out. That was more of an industrial thing. The new Primitive Race is more like a 90s kind of grunge thing. That whole project is almost like a super group where we're just like, oh, what kind of music are we going to do this album? But yeah, if you go to discogs.com, they've got a listing of a lot of the remixes I've done. On No Absolutes by Prong, which came out a year and a half ago, I wrote 4 songs on that with Tommy.
Oh.
And the latest record that he just came out with in July, I wrote one of the songs on that with him. So, like I said, I got my hand in a lot of pies. And it's great because I've been the hugest Prong fan since the 80s, and I was always like, oh, God, it would be so great to, even play a show with them, which I've done since, a couple times. But the ability to, call Tommy a friend and be able to work on music with him is just mind blowing for me. I try not to fanboy out on him when I talk to him on the phone. He'll call me up. He's like, hey, man, what's up? I'm like, nothing.
Oh, I'm never going to watch my phone again.
Exactly. That's what it's like, too.
Well, I love those stories. So when can we expect the Erie Loch movie?
It doesn't feel that exciting, but
yeah, but how many times have you told that story? I'm hearing it for the first time, and
and that's true.
Wow,
when I start telling
really
people,
cool.
It's like, oh yeah, I opened for Rammstein on their first ever tour in the U.S. One show, but still, it's like the first show they played on the first tour that they ever did. It's like, well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I can put that on my resume. I've opened for System of a Down, for Godsmack, there's a million fucking bands we've opened for through the years. After this tour, me and Crash would have played 700 shows. So, we've done a lot of stuff through the years. Gone on tour with Revco, with Jim Rose, with Real Kill Colt, with Lords, and now we're out with Combi Christ, Enesh, and everybody's so awesome on this tour. It's so nice, and we're all such good, got a good camaraderie with everybody, and it's so much fun.
Well, you guys have all of you guys, even Lords. I rember listening to Lords when I was a teenager. You guys have all been around a long time, and I think that really it's the experience that's starting to speak now.
Yeah, well, and what's wonderful about that, and what I just said about Tommy, I'm the same way with Lords of Acid. I've been the biggest Lords of Acid fan forever. I tend to, all the people who are in the band now, a lot of them don't know a lot of the facts. No. This is the person who was the singer then, and this was the album that was on, and they're like, okay. The fact that I've gotten to do remixes and videos for them, and I actually did the mastering on all of the re-releases that they just put out through Metropolis, so it's been great.
Yeah, that sounds like it's been a really good time for you. Like it's really been a lot of fun and kind of doing what you always wanted to do, which is really that's inspiring. Very inspiring.
All out of my little tough shed in my backyard. I love doing remixes for bands, not necessarily just all these big bands, like just bands that are my peers, people that I might get a chance to meet or play with out here on the road and stuff like that. I'm just like, hey man, send me stems, I'll do a remix.
Sure.
I'd much rather sit in the studio for a couple hours and do a remix for somebody than watch a movie on Netflix. So that's kind of what I do. I'm like, I'm not going to charge you. I'm not going to demand any special credit. If you don't want to use it, don't use it.
You're networking when you do that. Hey, let me do this for you. Let me show you what I can do.
Exactly.
Next thing you know, you've got a collaboration going. And it's like, next thing you know, you're calling Tommy from Prong on the phone. See?
I know, and that's how it happens too. It was like, oh, we're gonna do a couple songs on the Primitive Race record, and I end up talking to him. And he's like, dude, I want to work with you on some more stuff. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's fun. So your By Design album from WICCID is actually hot off the presses right now.
Yeah, it just came out on the 29th of September, so we're pretty excited, and we're getting a lot of attention for it, so that's making me very happy.
Oh, that's great. That's on Cleopatra Records.
Yep,
right?
Yep. And tonight, on the tour, we were only playing certain dates, but from tonight till the end of the tour, we're pretty much on every single show, so I'm pretty excited.
When they sent me the link for Torn, and I listened to that, I was like, wow, that sounds
awesome.
Really good.
I'm glad you liked it.
I really liked it. I might have played it more than once. I might have played it more than twice. Might have played it more than 3 times. No, I really did. It was one of those songs I was like, I like this. And I put it on repeat and I just let it run a couple times, you know.
Well,
Uh,
we try to focus on the songwriting more than anything. I know a lot of people focus on sounds these days and styles. I'm like, I would rather have something stick in your head at every chance I get, whether
oh,
it's the keyboard
absolutely.
line or the vocal line or whatever, something you want to hear again.
Well, I got to tell
So
you, it worked because I was walking around singing a line of that song,
that is
you know.
what we want to hear. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
And I thought, I listened to some other stuff too, and I thought, we were talking about the experience. 30 years is a long time to be doing this. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself, you know what? This sounds different than anything else you've ever done.
Uh-huh.
It's refined, I would say. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like whatever you were going for, I think you've arrived,
Yeah, well,
you
and
know?
and when you do remixing and you do producing, I was talking to Joe Hayes about this because he's on the tour and he does a lot of studio stuff too. What it really is as a producer, they're like, oh, it's your experience. It's your bag of tricks. It's, oh, okay, I know how to do this and I know how to make this sound this way because I know how to do this. You feel like you're cheating half the time, but if you could teach people how to do your bag of tricks, they could do exactly what you do.
And we don't want to do that. We want those are our tricks.
I want to share too many
Right?
secrets.
Magicians never share their secrets. We don't tell you no.
Exactly.
We don't give you the prestige here.
Oh, I said that online one day. I'm like, people who kept putting pro tip. I'm like, here's a pro tip, pros. Stop giving away your tips.
Right. And, I thought that your Torn single is actually very elegant.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
I actually liked hearing your voice on it.
Oh, awesome.
You always
Awesome.
say that you have like this Broadway voice. It doesn't really lend itself to the, industrial or techno, but I really liked hearing it
Well,
on
and
there.
and that's the thing. I mean, I over the years, because I used to sing very, like I said, very cleanly and very clearly. And you go and you play with bands that are like rah, rah, screaming and do all that stuff.
Hmm.
I learned how to do all of those different things. And in fact, if you listen to Blown Note, I use like 11 different voices, and they're all over the place. But with WICCID, I was just like, no, I'm just gonna fucking sing. And sometimes I'll growl, sometimes I'll scream here and there, but for the most part, I just wanted to really let the song get what it needed, and most of the time that's melody. So
Well, I think it really worked. It worked really well because that was the music itself, the sound of the
mhm.
music had a nice little edge to it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then all of a sudden the vocals came through and they were really elegant. They were really classic. And it was kind of like, it just kind of hit you right in the feels, you know?
Awesome.
But
Yeah,
that's why
one
we
of
do
my
it.
favorite bands of all times is Depeche Mode, and I've always had that argument with people. When you tell people you like Depeche Mode, it's not so much anymore, but it used to be. They're like, oh no, I like heavy music. I'm like, well, really, who's tougher, the guy who will come out and say, hey, here are my feelings, step all over them, and I don't care, or the guy who says, rah, I tell you, rah.
Right.
I think that the guy who's putting himself out there is a little bit more brave than the angry one.
Yeah. So, your Torn single, what was the production inspiration for that? I mean, I know you said like 10 songs in 10 days, but how'd you come up with that to
Well,
be your single? And
that was the first song I wrote. What we do when we do a project, we do what I call prototyping. It's
okay,
like, okay, once I figure out what we're doing with this project, then writing the rest of the album will be easy because I'll know, okay, these are the tools we're going to use, this is the direction we're going to
the
go.
direction, yeah.
So yeah, I definitely put more work into that one. I still did it in one day, but I put several more hours into figuring out which way I wanted to go with it, how I wanted to do the voicings, how I wanted to do the keyboards and stuff. But also, it was like the first crack that I had at a new toy box. So it was a lot of fun. It's like, ooh, I want to use this synth. I want to use this synth. I want to do this. And like I said, I've been doing this for so long. It's kind of like if I can imagine a sound, I can make it happen. And that I know is a very great gift to have for yourself.
It is, and it's not actually unlike a guitar player or a musician using their fingers. If you can sing it, you can play it.
Yeah, and keyboards are my main instrument, so it's great to be back in that wheelhouse. But honestly, my main instrument is the studio itself, is the digital audio workstations, being able to put the pieces together and make them sound the way I want them to sound. That's where the artistry really comes in for me.
I never considered the studio as actually being the instrument itself. That's actually really cool.
I heard someone else say it. I think it was the guy from the Perfect Circle. He was like, "Look, I'm a guitarist, but my main instrument is Pro Tools."
That's kind of like I'm a photographer, but I guess I could say that too. But my main instrument is Photoshop.
Yep, it's the computer. It's what you do with it, whatever you get the raw material and then you pound it into shape.
without guys like you, we wouldn't have industrial and stuff, pushing buttons and playing in the studio and whatnot. So
Yeah. Well, and it was great because it kind of fell into its own genre. There is an electro-industrial synth pop, or some people call it future pop genre. And I was like, oh, good. I can actually write melodies and write songs and put a little bit of edge into the sound. And it works with other bands. We could go out on tour with them. And, everybody seems to be really accepting of it without having to like, oh, God, I got to make this kind of music to fit into this scene. It was like, no, hey, this actually fits.
yeah, I think it fits into a lot of genres because on this tour here, you have the Lords, which are more
Uh,
digital and,
Well, but
computery
then
sounding.
live they're really really rock and roll. So it's
Right.
even stranger then. So
Right. And then you have Combi Christ, they're using the computers
uh-huh.
and the live instruments. And, I think
Uh-huh.
that's great.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite sounds right
Yep.
there.
No, and my favorite types of music have always been the ones that mix styles, the ones that hybrid a bunch of different things together.
Well, that's not easy
It's
to do.
Yeah, well, and to me, it's a lot more fun. It's hard for some people because, you have to learn how to make this style of music or that style of music. But after, like I said, doing the different bands that I've done over the years, working at a commercial studio, being face to face, generally, if there's a style of music I don't like, I learn how to do it. I know that sounds really weird, but
Honestly,
it's like I don't like this style of music. When dubstep came out, I was like, oh, I hear sounds that I'm not quite sure how to make. I'm gonna fucking learn how to do this shit, and I did, and that's what Exogeist was. I'm like, okay, now I'm done. I can move on.
that's not actually all that strange to me because when I hear a song I don't like, if I get,
Uh-huh.
I sing it and makes it go by faster.
Exactly, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to me today. I'm gonna.
Well, thank you for talking with us, me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Crash is standing right next to
Rosie's
me, so.
standing right there. He's like telling her, "Don't tell her this."
And then I say that, and he goes inside the venue. Um,
Yeah, so you guys are actually playing tonight. Today
yeah,
is
Mesa.
Saturday.
Yep,
Yep, in
yep,
Club Red in Mesa.
yeah.
Doors are at 6 and it's
Can't
12 an
wait. The
hour.
venue looks amazing. We're already halfway set up, so.
Oh, it's great in there. You'll love it. And I got to tell you, the people that go to that venue, they're fantastic. You got metal music
Excellent.
going on in there. They are with you from the beginning. So I
Excellent,
think you guys
excellent,
will have a
excellent.
good time. I think we're going to have a great time with you. I'm really interested to
Beautiful.
hear some of the music that I haven't heard from WICCID. So
Uh-huh.
I think it'll be
Excellent.
very exciting. And I look forward
Wonderful.
to it.
All right. Thank you
All right.
very much.
Talk to you later.
Take
Thanks.
care. Bye.
Bye bye.